What is your main argument to them about why they should be investing in the United States right now, Mr. Secretary?
It's the same reason as American companies should be, and in fact are, namely regulatory reform, getting rid of red tape, tax reform, getting our rates down to very, very competitive levels, unleashing our energy resources, fixing our trade agreements, and creating a much more healthy environment for businesses and consumers. So all of those reasons are the why.
Excuse me. So let's talk about fixing those trade agreements. One of the things you mentioned, which comes within your purview. To what extent is fixing the trade agreements? You've been very outspoken. You want trade, but you want fair trade. To what extent do tightening up those trade arrangements encourage U.S. investment in the sense that people need to be here to manufacture so they're not subject to whatever restrictions there might be?
Well, I think it's a factor, but probably a relatively small factor. I think cutting the tax rates hugely, as we have is planned to do, is a very, very big benefit. Our tax structure used to be a major disadvantage. Similarly, our regulatory structure had been a huge disadvantage. We were, I believe, the most over-regulated country going. Well, when you're paying a lot of tax and you're having a lot of regulatory red tape, that discourages not only greenfield investment, it discourages any kind of investment in the country. So we think it's mostly a question of removing impediments and then coupling that with the normal benefits of the U.S., a huge population base, wonderful market, open access to it once you're here, highly educated workforce. Those are the kinds of fundamental factors that were always at work, but now are supplemented with the improvements in business climate created by President Trump.
As you suggest, Mr. Secretary, you have plans to cut taxes as well as reform taxes, two somewhat different things. You have plans, and there's a lot of euphoria about that initially during the Trump administration. What do you say to would-be investors right now who say, let's wait and see if that happens, because right now it looks somewhat less likely or is certainly delayed from what we originally thought last January?
Well, the timing the administration has very little control over. That really requires activity by the Congress. But we seem to be making very good progress on health care reform, and that's really the prerequisite to getting the tax reform enacted. So the first key to timing on tax will be when we get the health care reform completed.